Hi everyone, welcome to Keeping It Spiffy with PFH Prevention. Are you interested in change? In this podcast, we will talk about the strategic prevention framework and how it can teach groups of people to enact change throughout their communities. Join us to see how you can make a difference. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Keeping It Spiffy with Kylie and
Edward.
Yes, so on the third episode, we're going to talk about what capacity is, but before we get into that, we have our fun little get to know you segment. And this can be a controversial one, but if you found $2,000 on the ground, Edward, what would you do with it?
Well, I guess I'd like to say I'm one of those people that would take it to the police department and say, hey, I found this on the ground. I think usually with those, they don't claim it after so long though, you get it, they give it to you. And if that happened, I would be one of those boring people and just pay on my house or something.
So you wouldn't get LASIK surgery in one eye?
No, who does that?
You would do that. Yeah, I would like to think that I would do the right thing as well, but I would fight myself in my head. But with $2,000, hopefully I'd give some to charity and donate it. But I think I would, like I said, in my head, I would want to do nice things for other people. But then if it actually happened, I'd probably just put it in savings or something. I don't know. But if it was a perfect world, I would definitely donate it and spend it on other people. But it's not a perfect world, and I don't know exactly what I would do. Okay, that was a long answer.
You wouldn't get LASIKs in one eye?
I have perfect vision.
But you could do it for the fun of it, I guess.
I guess I could if I just found it randomly, but why would I do that?
You're weird.
Okay, well, so now that you guys know a little bit more about Edward and I, we will get into our talk about capacity. So Edward, what exactly is capacity when it comes to the SPF model?
So capacity is basically, and probably the simplest way to say it is what are your resources? What do you have at your disposal that can be used for whatever it is you're trying to achieve? Whether that's people or equipment or space, whatever it is, whatever resource you have. For the most part, we're going to be talking about people though.
So then what kind of people would you want kind of on your team or to help you through this process?
When you have a coalition that's using the strategic prevention framework, you want people that are stakeholders in the community, someone that has a foot in their hand in there that they have something to gain. They have a vested interest in the community's health and welfare. So business owners, doctors, city councilmen or teachers, parents, just someone from every sector of your community. The CADCA defines them as having 12 different sectors of the community.
Okay, so this is just like a kind of observation from what you said. So it wouldn't be smart to get just like a large group of teachers or like one large group of businessmen. Like, are you saying you want to get kind of a variety of people from the community?
Exactly. If you had a large group of just teachers, then all you're going to get is the teacher's perspective, maybe a little bit of parents' perspective, because none of us are just one thing, whether we're business people or teachers or doctors, we're still parents, we're still family members, community members. So there's all that stuff. But you want to have that mixture. You want to get the businessman's perspective. You want to get the doctor's perspective, the parents' perspective, everyone working together so you can get a good sense of a representation of everyone that's in the community, all the different areas. And that way, whenever you make your plan, whenever you are talking about what you want to do, they can tell you, well, this is kind of how I see things in my daily life, and then that could be completely opposite of what someone across the table is.
Yeah. It's more accommodating.
Exactly.
For all the opinions. So what other resources are you talking about other than people?
So when I talk about resources, I'm talking about the capacity, and this goes back to your assessment too. When you do your assessment, you're assessing your capacity as well. What do we have? Do we have space to do events or some trainings? Do we have equipment like computers to make our flyers? Can we have a printer? What do we have in the community? If I want to do do some kind of event, do we have DJs? Do we have other vendors that can show up? It's just basically, what do we have to do these things with? And when you do your assessment, you also talk about, what do we not have? What are we missing?
Yes. So this step is kind of like a networking and community reach out step.
Right. And when you're in a coalition, you're always building capacity. It doesn't, you don't just see what you got now and then not talk about it ever again. It's constant. When you want to recruit someone into the coalition, you should have your elevator speech. What's this really quick spiel that I can shoot out and grab people's attention and make them think, oh, wait, I want to be part of that.
Yeah. How do you recommend going and reaching out to people? Do you recommend like email, going in person, writing them a letter? What's kind of the best way to build that?
You can do any of those things. I think probably in person, is the most effective. If I'm trying to recruit a doctor and I have a nurse on a coalition already that knows the doctor, that's the person I want to send. I want to send someone who has a rapport with them. And a lot of times it's just asking your neighbors, asking your church friends, asking, the PTA people, it's just gathering people that are around you. And sometimes you may not have someone that has that rapport, and the president of the coalition or someone like that may have to go and talk to the mayor and say, hey, we want you to come to coalition meetings. We want you to help us change the community and make it better. Yeah.
So it seems a lot of persuasion, proving to people that this is why it matters and this is why you should join.
Exactly. I mean, it's you're stating the facts like, hey, we have a problem. We know it's a problem because we've done the SPF. We've looked at the data, we've talked to the community, and we know this is a problem, and you may not realize it. And, for the better of the community, we will need your help. If we have your help, we can make much better progress towards solving this problem.
Yeah, that's really important. Very important. Yay! With this being the second step, would you say that capacity, you said that it's continuous. Would you say that this is kind of the most important part of the SPF model?
I don't think that you can choose any part of the SPF and say it's the most important. It is kind of a make it or break it. If you don't do a piece of it, then the whole thing can kind of crumble. Okay. One of the things we talk about through the entire SPF is, sustainability and cultural sensitivity, or cultural competence rather. Those two pieces are interwoven into every piece of the SPF. And I think capacity is a big part of that as well, because you want to have a representation as well that represents the culture of the community, whether it's ethnically or religiously, whatever it is, you want to make sure that is well represented. So, and I think in my opinion, this is strictly my opinion, youth on the coalition is one of the most vital pieces. It's also one of the most difficult pieces. Kids go to school all day, they have, sports practices and other stuff like that. So it's difficult, but you have to go that extra mile to make sure you have youth representation. The last thing you want is a bunch of old people thinking they know how to reach youth. It's just not there. Yeah. So you should always be striving for youth on the coalition.
Yes. So what if I have a hard time reaching out to people, or people aren't wanting to be a part of my coalition? What should I do about that?
I think that's a common problem. I think a lot of coalitions run into that. They're like, we just can't get people to come. We can't get anyone interested. Then you need to reevaluate what you're saying. You need to reevaluate your, what your elevator speech, or maybe the level of commitment you're asking for. That's another big piece. Tell them, you don't have to come to a bunch of coalition meetings. or we're not expecting you to do all the events or whatever. We want you to be here just for a little bit of this or a little bit of that. We don't, and figure out what is the involvement that they would be comfortable with and try to get them to be that involved.
Okay. Roughly, is there a number of people that is kind of like the star number for a coalition, or is there too much, too little?
I don't think there is a magic number. I think it's all about structure. You have your core group, which is probably those 12 sector representatives that I talk about from everywhere.
Yeah.
And you want those people to be at all the meetings. But then outside of that, you have the larger group of your volunteers, your community members that are there to help out. So that core group, and you might call them the board of the coalition, some people do.
Okay.
They make the decisions, they make the plans, they talk about it, vote on it, however the structure is. And then they move forward, and then they gather up all these other people and make maybe subcommittees or just groups that are responsible for a portion. So let's say they're going to put on a movie in the park. Then they might assign, this board member to go and figure out a projector and equipment. Well, then that board member would grab, so many volunteers to help them work on that piece. And then they might assign another one to work on getting popcorn machines or something like that, or food. So they're going to grab some people and they're going to go talk to the city about a permit and stuff like that. Then you might, you just delegate these different responsibilities to make this one thing happen. And that's where those other people come in to help, and then they maybe help run the final event,
Yeah. So kind of relating this to something that people are more familiar with, it's kind of like a club at a school, like building basically, a club, getting people to join your club because you're passionate about the cause.
Right. You're going to be able to find those 12 sector representatives. They may not be the first people you get to say yes, but you'll find someone that can represent that sector. And then those volunteers, those outer shell of people, those are going to be the people like, hey, I don't need you to come make votes, or I don't need you to give money. Could you come and help us give out popcorn at our movie in the park?
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's all I need to do is just hand out popcorn. Yeah, I can come and hand out popcorn.
Yeah. So creating simple tasks to kind of get more people involved.
Right. Just, whatever their comfort level is. And I think after they do it, just like anything, they become more comfortable helping out more often.
Yeah.
But you can just never give up. You got to just you're constantly getting, new members and stuff. Some people move out of the community. Having some sort of plan to replace a member should they, not be around anymore is also a great idea.
Yeah. So to kind of wrap this up, what would be the one key takeaway for CAPACTIY?
I think the biggest one is like I've said a few times, is just don't stop growing. You never have too many coalition volunteers or members. Everyone in the community could be one. Then the entire community is working towards the goal of a better community. So just constantly working, don't give up. A lot of coalitions get discouraged when they've been told no so many times, or when their efforts have just not bared any fruit. If they're not bearing fruit, look at how you're doing it. Let's see if we can do it different and make it better.
Yeah. And it's important to realize that tough things don't come easy. You got to work hard for them. And as long as you're passionate and you're constantly growing and working towards it, then it'll hopefully reach what you want it to reach.
Correct.
Yes. Well, thank you, Edward. And thank you for tuning in to Keeping It Spiffy for our third episode. We hope that you guys keep coming back to hear more. But until then, we will talk to you guys later. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's episode on Keeping It Spiffy. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, and Twitter at PFH Prevention. If you want to connect with us, feel free to email us at moprevention@pfh.org or check out our website at pfh.org/prevention. See you next time.